All right, let's talk about the cognitive dissonance of the right wing trying to hijack the mantle of masculinity as if any type of ideology can have a perfect monopoly on that, whilst the arbiters and the messengers of said masculine, ideology are themselves not. I'll just rattle off some names. You got Tucker Carlson on Fox News. You got Ben Shapiro of the Daily Wire, whatever it's called. You got Charlie Kirk of Toilet Paper USA. And, just those are just three big names. Okay? Now, I know that for every one of them, you could probably turn around and say, well, look at Sean Hannity. He's got a big, meaty head. That's pretty masculine, and his voice isn't terribly grating to listen to. Okay, fine, I'll give you that one. He's just retarded. But that's besides the point. We'll look at some of these other guys. You got Steven Crowder, Louder with Crowder. He's a pretty big guy. He wears the baseball shirts. He's got the gun holster. He looks like he works out, and he's got a beard. Yeah, that's masculine. Cool. So for him, you've also got, what's his name? I'm hoping I get this right. I think his name's Matt Walsh, another bearded conservative who, spouts nationalist, racist bullshit, who himself looks like a little bitch. So just want to say that the sample we're looking at here, for every one person who just appears masculine or sounds masculine, like their voice isn't grating to listen to or something, you got probably at least one or two bitch-ass hoes that do not carry the mantle of at least traditional masculinity, where, not that you have to have a beard to be manly, but these days it seems like every other guy fucking has a beard. And, or they're loud, or they look angry, or they're like Dan Bongino, they look like they're on steroids, or they're loud and they're abrasive, and they use a lot of swear words to try to compensate for the fact that they can't actually substantiate their points. Or they got a tiny dick, I don't fucking know. But let's just go back to the people that I talked about at the top. Like, for all the young people out there, all the young conservative men, whether you're an incel or not, you're involuntary celibate because no woman wants to sleep with you because you're a discompassionate or uncompassionate piece of shit that doesn't know how to treat a woman or how to court a woman because you live in an echo chamber. And I'm kind of oversimplifying shit here. Guys like that prey on you. They prey on you, and then they try to label themselves as the cool kid, the whiz kid, philosopher, or yada yada yada. Like, I don't see a whole lot of that on the left, honestly. I don't see a whole lot of people on the left trying to claim that they're the party of patriotism. I think the only thing I ever see is that we're the party of democracy, because it's not exactly a hard mantle to take, honestly, because our practices and our position in recent history kind of gives us that advantage. And besides, when you've got the Republicans that are all about wanting to keep the Electoral College enacted because that's the only way they can win elections, as well as other means like independent legislator theory or other shit like that, where it doesn't matter what the voters say, it just matters what the state's legislators or their electors decide to do, throw an election against the will of the people. The whole Republican philosophy at this point is anti-democratic. So it's not hard for the left to take up the mantle of democracy or claim any type of monopoly over it. But for the right to try to take up the monopoly over, we're the party of the troops, we're the party of freedom, we're the party of masculinity, we're the party of backing the blue, we're the party of personal freedom, we're the party of liberty. Like, the amount, the self-filleting that the Republican Party does, and they stack so much upon itself as if it's like this perfect party that's got everything right. We're the party of God. We're the party of family values. Like, there's so fucking many things that they claim that they're the party of, when just simply looking at how they go against and how they vote against certain legislation and policy ideas proves that they are in fact none of those things. They're not the party of veterans. They're not the party of backing the blue. They only backed the blue when the blue was attacking unarmed black people. That's it. They're not the party of personal freedom because they effectively want to restrict abortion and women's health care. Effectively, slicing more than half the country's rights in half, at least. So I can go through all those things one by one in a different video or a different clip or whatever. But you hear anybody talking about these things, you hear Tucker Carlson with his dumbass mayonnaise-eating face where it looks like he's just staring into the abyss when people talk. How the fuck do people listen to him and walk away from his segments going like, yeah, I really learned something today? Homie talks in one of the most condescending, most bitch-ass voices I've ever heard. Everything is completely scripted. The inflections of his voice, the false sense of inquisitiveness, or that pseudo sense of curiosity, the bad faith questions, or just the over-the-top generalizations, we don't hear people talk about that anymore, or we don't even see this anymore. Acting like he has his finger on the pulse of what's happening in this country when he is one of the most insulated. I mean, dude inherited a freaking frozen dinner fortune. The guy's worth at least $500 million, I think. So the fact that a bunch of poor or lower middle class socioeconomic people listen to him and go like, yeah, this guy's a populist and he really speaks to our values. It's no, he speaks to your prejudice. He speaks to what is hopefully just prejudice and not full-blown racism in segments talking about nationalism or white replacement theory or shit like that. And it's actually really all out there because he's on fucking video. It's not that hard to find clips of him being an outright bigot, and it's gone from it being dog whistles to the outright blowhorn or megaphone. And I just don't understand how people can listen to that and say, oh, this guy is the epitome of masculinity. And then maybe the younger folk listening to Ben Shapiro's podcast. How the fuck can anybody listen to him talk about masculinity when that guy's got the bitchiest, most chipmunk voice ever? And just because you're short or you're little doesn't mean you can't be masculine. That's why God granted you the ability to have pug leverages. That's why shorter guys have an easier time building muscle and powerlifting, to offset the fact that you're not lanky or lengthy or tall. And they make it harder for you to get women that like tall guys, so they give you the ability to make muscle because it's easier to pack muscle on shorter limbs. Why the fuck is it Ben Shapiro's job with his freaking Sharpie ass eyebrows and his really grating, annoying voice where he thinks if he talks fast he sounds intelligent, that is the epitome of masculinity? The cognitive dissonance and all of that is staggering. And then same thing with Charlie Kirk. Guy has a face that's way too small for his head. Same thing, bitch ass voice. Just sounds flustered all the time. And same thing with these politicians. They're looking to elevate Ron DeSantis as a possible 2024 nominee for the Republican Party, which I promise he will fizzle out. He will not make it. He has to win Florida decisively by more than 6 or 7 points. And what might be considered a toss-up year, or even a red puddle at the best. It's not a red wave year. It's going to be, at the very most, a red puddle. If Ron DeSantis doesn't win Florida decisively, he's done. And plus, he's only 5'9", I think. All presidents in modern history, up until Jimmy Carter, but all presidents since are at least 6 feet tall. Now that shouldn't be the end-all be-all, but it's just a psychological thing. People look to tall people for leadership, and every president that we've had since Reagan, I believe, has been at least 6 feet tall. And Ron DeSantis is 5'9", and he's got a bitchy voice. He sounds like he's whining half the time. He's hearing him talk is grating. Hearing people like Greg Abbott talk is grating. This slack-jawed piece of shit can't even get a sentence out. Can't even debate Beto O'Rourke properly without sounding like he's just struggling the entire time. And I don't want to say that his slack-jawed Southern accent has anything to do with his disability, because his disability is purely physical, but he does sound like he has paraplegia of the mouth as well, or at least in the jaw line. The irony in which some of these right-wing commentators or even politicians are looked at as versions of masculinity. And this is even all without talking about Donald Trump, who's one of the most thin-skinned bitches of all time. The only thing he's got going for him in terms of masculinity is the fact that he's like 6'3". Other than that, he's got nothing going for him. He doesn't take care of himself. He's an obese piece of shit. He whines when he talks. And he's got no real convictions. He's got no real principles. And he's a complete con artist who scams all of his supporters who are dumb enough to fall for his shit 7 years later at this point. So no, he's the biggest bitch leader of them all. And then you got other people like Matt Gaetz or Jim Jordan, other bitch ass voices. You got Donald Trump Jr. You got plenty of other people in this, this caucus of fascism. Just as some examples, but yeah, the fact that Tucker Carlson is like the number one rated news host really does say a lot about the state of not just intelligent conversation or critical thinking, but our idea of what masculism is supposed to be. If you want to know what real masculism is, don't look to people like Tucker Carlson. That is a complete fluke, a complete fallacy. And I'm saying all this from a position of not even having to try to hijack the idea of what it is myself. But part of being a real man is being compassionate. It's about treating people with respect. It's about not punching down. It's about when you're in a position of power, you don't abuse that power and use it to hurt people. And that's what all these people that I have listed effectively do on the regular.